With the system's help, his cultivation level kept improving, and soon he became the strongest person on the Hongmeng continent. In order to continue to improve his strength, the Patriarch decided to go to a higher level continent to establish a sect. But before he left, the system panel suddenly crashed, and the Patriarch was trapped in Hongmeng and never had a chance to break through his cultivation level again. The Patriarch believed that not being able to break through meant that there were people stronger than him in the world, and his position was not stable. If his position was not stable, he could not lie down and be a lazy person. Since then, he worried every day that there would be stronger people from other continents coming to kill him. Although the system reminded him countless times that he was invincible, he still decided to hide in the most dangerous and remote place in the 9 Deaths and 1 Life realm. This went on for 100,000 years. Now, with the survival of the sect at stake, Luo Qingchen was elected as the new sect master. Before the old sect master died, he told little Luo that the Patriarch had left a token for the sect before he went into seclusion. He said that if the sect was in a life-threatening crisis, he could take this token to find the Patriarch and that she must find him before the sect's protection array was broken. Luo Qingchen didn't dare to neglect and immediately went to the 9 Deaths and 1 Life realm. The hardships along the way made Luo Qingchen secretly think to himself, all 10,000 years have passed. Is the Patriarch really still alive? At the moment of despair, an incredibly large chicken suddenly landed in front of her. Luo Qingchen looked carefully and saw that it was the monstrous and cannibalistic purple netherworld sparrow. This kind of high-level monster, even if the entire Divine Sword sect were to come, they would still be unable to escape being devoured. Luo Qingchen collapsed in despair. Has the fate of my Forget Immortal sect really come to an end? I feel ashamed that I couldn't complete the mission and failed my section. But who would have known that in the next moment, the purple netherworld sparrow would flap its wings and carry her on its back, flying towards the deepest part of the secret realm. Luo Qingchen was dumbfounded, thinking, am I dreaming? How could a monster like this allow a human to ride on its back? But before she could recover from her shock, the purple netherworld sparrow had already flown her to a palace, set her down, and bowed down to her, saying respectfully, Master, the mission is completed. Then, a white-haired man walked slowly out of the palace. Step back, he said. Luo Qingchen was instantly shocked, wondering who this person was that even the purple netherworld sparrow would bow down to. Luo Qingchen quickly bowed to show respect. As she was still stunned, her life-saving token suddenly floated up from her chest, and then flew directly to the man. Seeing this, Luo Qingchen shouted urgently, that's my sect's life-saving token. Why did you take it away? The man coldly replied, this has always been Patriarch Qinshan's possession. Why would I need to steal it? Luo Qingchen couldn't believe it. Could it be that he was the founder of my Forget Immortal sect, Qinshan Patriarch? Luo Qingchen immediately kowtowed desperately, pleading for Patriarch Qin to come out and save their sect. After understanding the ins and outs of the matter, suddenly his expression changed. My prestigious Forget Immortal sect was actually destroyed by a mere half-step divine realm trash. Just 100,000 years have passed, and the power I established has fallen like this? When have I, a traveler, experienced such frustration? Oh well, I'll just go and wipe them out with one palm. Just then, a dialog box popped up in front of the Patriarch's eyes. The sect system is activated. The system is rebooted as a branching system. New mission released. Go through 6 trials before heading to the next continent. The Patriarch was immediately shocked. It's been 100,000 years. Do you know how I spent these 10 square years? System, oh system, you finally appeared again. The first trial, rescue the sect, but the requirement is that I cannot directly take action. The Patriarch tearfully accepted the task. Finally, I can continue to create a new continent. Then he grabbed the hands of the junior disciple little Luo with a sly smile. Although I, the Patriarch, am very strong, I must rely on you to make our sect strong. The matter of the sect can only be handled by yourselves. The Patriarch thought that the system required him not to take action, but in order to complete the task, he must also lend a hand. The Divine Sword sect has the Heavenly Sword battle garb, right? Follow me and pick out some clothes. Just then, with a snap of his fingers, they instantly arrived in a different space. The Patriarch softly exclaimed as 4 sets of battle garbs appeared before his eyes. Luo Qingchen was instantly stunned. The so-called clothes of the Patriarch were actually battle garbs of the 4 elements: wind, fire, water, and earth. Pick any one of them, and they could all easily defeat the Divine Sword sect's Heavenly Sword battle garb. Luo Qingchen pointed at the fire element battle garb. I want this one. Who knew that Patriarch would kick the 4 sets of battle garb into pieces with 1 foot? Too ugly. Quickly get me a new batch, at least the kind that can be seen in Paris Fashion Week. Next, a set of purple battle garb caught Luo Qingchen's eye. This is the pre-heavenly poison battle garb, which was said to have been worn by a poison Shura to rescue his mother and defeat the heavenly Shura with one's own power alone. 10,000 years ago. At this point, Luo Qingchen had already imagined herself wearing it and the stunning scene it would create. "Patriarch, this one," she said. But in the next moment, Patriarch slapped it into pieces. "Girls should not wear anything too rebellious," he said. Then came the Thunder Infinite Battle Garb. "No, the color is too gaudy." "The Stellar Sea Battle Garb? The name is too tacky." "The Primordial Immortal Battle Garb? No, my dog doesn't like it." With each explosion, Luo Qingchen's mental defense was shattered. "Is this picking clothes for me, or destroying treasures?" she wondered. Then, she hugged Patriarch's thigh and said, "Don't destroy it. Let's take this one." Patriarch looked at the bloody battle garb in his hand and said, "This is the Sun God Battle Garb. If you can fuse perfectly with it, you can't die as long as there's fire. It's just that you are also a fire attribute. It can be considered destiny that you have chosen this one." With Patriarch's help, Luo Qingchen quickly fused with the battle garb. With this battle garb, it should be no problem to deal with the Divine Sword Sect. Luo Qingchen then prepared to return to save the sect. At this moment, the Patriarch stopped her and said there was something important for her to do. Upon hearing this, Luo Qingchen's face was full of eagerness. The Patriarch's face was serious as he asked her, "Can you cook?" Upon hearing this, Luo Qingchen was momentarily stunned. Not only that, but the Patriarch also asked her to wear a maid outfit and cook a table of dishes. Luo Qingchen's face was full of shyness. But at this time, the sect was in trouble, and she didn't have time to eat with the Patriarch, who knew the Patriarch didn't care and directly stuffed a large piece of meat into her mouth. As the meat reached her mouth, Luo Qingchen realized it was not ordinary meat, but rather sacred Kirin meat. Just a sip of it could make her spiritual power spread throughout her body. Legend has it that thousands of years ago, when a demonic cultivator's mother was critically ill, he, who was at the peak of his cultivation, wanted to hunt the Kirin to save his mother. However, he not only failed to hunt the Kirin but was also forced to perform a stand-up comedy routine for 3 years before the Kirin would let him go. This shows how precious the Kirin is. While Luo Qingchen was still in ecstasy, the Patriarch thought she was choking and poured a pot of water down her throat. But how could it be ordinary water? It was clearly Jade Spring Divine Brew, and it was a full glass. You see, even having a drop of Jade Spring Divine Brew was a luxury for the current Forget Immortal sect. Luo Qingchen was shocked and grateful, quickly kowtowing to express her thanks. The Patriarch casually said, "No need to be polite. I still have a lake of Jade Spring Divine Brew." Luo Qingchen was stunned once again. Is this the grandeur of the Patriarch of the sect? Suddenly, a thunderbolt sounded, and Luo Qingchen knew that she had successfully broken through to the Quenched Bone Realm. At this moment, the Patriarch system panel prompted that the task of expanding the sect had been completed, and there was a reward of 10,000 years of power for the host. With a loud thunderbolt, Patriarch Qinshian successfully broke through to the second rank of the Emperor Realm. It's been 100,000 years, and he finally made another breakthrough. From now on, he would secretly help his juniors while striving to upgrade himself. Immediately, Luo Qingchen prepared to thank him and returned to rescue the sect. At this moment, the Patriarch pointed to the huge blood sun in the sky and laughed. "Look at this sun. Don't worry, let's steam in the sauna again." In the sauna, the Patriarch looked very pleased, while Luo Qingchen felt embarrassed. Seeing this, the Patriarch said straightforwardly, "Or I can tell you a nursery rhyme to divert your attention." This positive story is called Master and Disciple Living Together. As the Patriarch spoke, Luo Qingchen suddenly realized that steam was gradually gathering around her. It turned out that the Patriarch was transmitting spiritual energy to her, and although the nursery rhyme seemed frivolous, it contained a legendary Imperial level technique, the Skyfire Burning Heaven Secret. You should know that the levels of techniques are divided into yellow, mysterious, earthly, heavenly, and imperial, and even the strongest rival, the Divine Sword Sect, is only at the earthly level. But now the Patriarch was teaching her the top Imperial level technique. Luo Qingchen did not disappoint the Patriarch's kind intentions. The Patriarch then said to the system, "I was just having a meal and telling stories with my junior. Is that against the rules?" The system was speechless. The next morning, as Luo Qingchen prepared to bid farewell after breaking through to the nourished spirit realm, the Patriarch suddenly pulled out a small calf, saying that it could be roasted and eaten on the way if she got hungry. Looking at little Luo bringing back so many local specialties, as long as she didn't encounter anything strange, these should be enough to deal with the Divine Sword Sect, who were no match for the mighty Forget Immortal Sect. At this moment, the protective sect array of Forget Immortal Sect was finally broken through. Forget Immortal Sect was completely powerless to resist. Suddenly, a voice came from above. "Junior brothers and sisters, why are you so stubborn? A good bird chooses a good tree to perch on. Why don't you join the great Divine Sword Sect like me?" Upon hearing this, all members of Forget Immortal Sect were extremely indignant. They called Yichen a traitor to the sect, a scum who betrayed them, and the senior brother of the sect who actually defected to the enemy. However, Yichen remained calm and said, "Go ahead and kill them all. Suddenly, there was a loud noise. "Rebel, do you really think that Forget Immortal Sect has no one left?" The disciples were anxious. Older Lu's injuries had not yet healed, but he could not think too much at this moment. Faced with this rebel whom he had trained himself, Older Lu said that if he wanted to harm his sect, he would have to step over his own corpse. Then, he burned his remaining life force and struck with a final blow, vowing to personally eradicate this rebel. However, just as he was about to hit Yi Chen, the Divine Sword Sect's top disciple, Sword Maniac, suddenly appeared and blocked the blow. He was strong enough to compete with the Elders and was the most powerful force of the Divine Sword Sect. Older Lu knew that the sect was in dire straits today. Faced with Sword Maniac's attack, Older Lu, who was already seriously injured, had no chance of defending himself and was quickly kicked to the ground. Older Lu was in great sorrow. Sect Master Luo had gone to the realm of life and death, and now she was the last force of the sect. If he couldn't hold on until Sect Master Luo returned, Forget Immortal Sect would probably fall. At this moment, Yi Chen was preparing to use the corpse of his master as a merit for defecting to the Divine Sword Sect. Just as Yi Chen's sword was about to pierce Older Lu, a dazzling sword light suddenly flashed in the distance. Immediately after, there was a loud bang, and Yi Chen was instantly knocked back onto a huge pillar, seemingly lifeless after the fall. Older Lu was stunned. Did that one strike really kill him? A voice came from afar. The Divine Sword Sect, which was just a small affiliate of my Forget Immortal Sect 100,000 years ago, now dares to bully your master. As a pair of beautiful legs slowly touched the ground, the newcomer was none other than Luo Qingchen, who had arrived just in time, and beside her was an angry little calf. Older Lu was shocked. As the Patriarch returned from the 9 deaths and 1 life realm, "Did you bring the Patriarch back?" he asked. Luo Qingchen smiled and said, "I found the Patriarch, but he refuses to come out of seclusion and said we should fend for ourselves." At this point, the sword fanatic stepped forward and said, "To be able to come back alive from the 9 deaths and 1 life realm, you must have some skills. I once went there when I was young and fearless, and almost lost my life. But I also gained a set of sword techniques under fortuitous circumstances, and that set of sword techniques has yet to be surpassed by anyone. Now that you can come back from there, you should be able to withstand my strongest sword, right?" Older Lu quickly urged the master to escape, as the opponent was the strongest newcomer of the Divine Sword Sect in the Nourished Spirit realm at the 8th rank, far beyond the reach of her concentrating realm. "Even in my prime, I wouldn't have been able to handle it." But Luo Qingchen just smiled and turned around to face the opponent. "Leave it to me." Before he finished speaking, flames had already begun to gather in his hand. The sword fanatic, outraged by his ignorance and arrogance, instantly erupted in anger. "A mere flame dares to challenge my overwhelming sword intent? Dragon sword of deadly intent." But Luo Qingchen just coldly laughed. "Raging fire heaven decree," and his blue sword intent was instantly crushed by a phoenix made of flames. Immediately, Sword Maniac was engulfed by the sky-high fireworks, leaving everyone present in awe. In an instant, Sword Maniac was burnt down to only his underwear. Luo Qingchen looked at the so-called Sword Maniac lying on the ground and coldly said, "How dare you show off your skills where they are not needed?" Older Lu was nearly shocked to dislocate his jaw. "Master, what kind of opportunity did you have to improve so rapidly?" Suddenly, there was a sound behind him. "Who killed my disciple?" The person who came was none other than Tang Zong, the chief elder of the Divine Sword Sect's half-step divine realm. Older Lu was once again shocked. "Run!" The old master died at the hands of his sword. Luo Qingchen listened and angrily glared. "It was you, bald donkey, who killed my master." Tang Zong immediately prepared to draw his sword. "Who gave you the courage to challenge me?" Just then, a flame suddenly floated in front of Tang Zong's eyes. He didn't think much of it, but in the next second, the spreading flame had already enveloped Tang Zong. Tang Zong was shocked. How could someone in the Nourished Spirit realm unleash the power of the Divine Realm? "Die, bald donkey! Go to hell and apologize to my master." Suddenly, Tang Zong pulled out a long spear from nowhere, breaking through the flames in an instant and hitting Luo Qingchen's chest with a burst of energy in the next second. Looking at Luo Qingchen lying on the ground, Tang Zong had a smug look on his face. "Did you think I was only good with the long sword? Actually, I'm also good with the long spear, and it's made of invincible diamond rock. Your master's adamantium chest armor was pierced by my rock spear and caused his death." In anger, Luo Qingchen struggled to get up and once again used the Burning Heaven decision, but Tang Zong used his sword energy to blow away the flames. At the same time, attacking with a gun, the raging fire has no effect whatsoever. As the attack seemed impossible to stop, at the critical moment, a calf's hoof fell from the sky, and the next second, it blocked the long gun with its horns. The supposedly invincible gun shattered into pieces instantly. "Get lost, you bull!" Tang Zong was stunned by what he saw, and then he tactically retreated to create distance. The young bull was itching for a fight. Originally, it had wanted to live among humans as an ordinary calf, but instead it received only rejection. Enough of the act. I am a King Realm demon, and I am showing my cards now. In an instant, the young bull turned into a towering beast. Tang Zong fell to his knees. "Daddy Demon, please don't eat me. If you want to eat someone, eat my disciple." Just as he was begging for mercy, Tang Zong secretly burned his life force from behind and poured his spiritual power into a dagger. Seizing the opportunity while the big bull was distracted, he unleashed a King Realm strike in an instant. Tang Zong felt satisfied with his cunning plan, having traded his life force for this full-strength blow. The tiny blade would become an unbreakable point of power against such a massive body. Even the Black Thunder Bull Python of King Realm would not be able to withstand this move. However, he had never expected that a mere sneeze from the young bull would electrocute Tang Zong to a crisp. At the moment, the young bull did not seem to realize it had killed someone, but the onlookers were all stunned. This was a Divine Realm expert who almost wiped out their sect, yet the young bull killed him so easily. As the Black Thunder Bull Python turned its attention back to them, it was dumbfounded to find everything around it charred. All the snacks that were within reach were ruined. The Patriarch from the 9 Deaths and 1 Life realm realized that it was wise to send the little black bull away. Although it was just a small demon in the King realm, its defense was invincible. Unless they were of a higher level or had a racial advantage, they would not be able to break its defense. How could the Divine Sword Sect ever have anyone who could defeat the young bull? I should just relax and read my novel. At this moment, Luo Qingshan fell to the ground with a thump. The Patriarch has been really good to me. I originally thought he was just an ordinary pet, but I didn't expect him to be such a capable warrior. Seeing this, the remaining disciples of the Divine Sword Sect scattered in all directions. In the midst of celebration for the Forget Immortal Sect survival, older Lu collapsed on the ground, exhausted and depleted of nearly 90% of his life force, and it seemed he wouldn't live for another half an hour. At that moment, Little Black reminded her, "Don't you have the Jade Spring Divine Brew with you? Just give him a sip." Older Lu took the Jade Spring Divine Brew seriously, knowing how precious it was and didn't want to waste it on a dying old man, saving it for the younger generation instead. But the next moment, Luo Qingshan pulled out a large jug of it, and older Lu, at the brink of death, was shocked. He couldn't believe what he was seeing, and thought he was either dreaming or already dead. Ignoring his own image, older Lu licked the ground to savor the spilled Jade Spring Divine Brew. Seeing this, Luo Qingshan felt a bit embarrassed, telling him it wasn't necessary, since the Patriarch had a whole lake of it. Little Black sneered, saying that he had never seen such an ignorant bumpkin. Older Lu couldn't believe his eyes, thinking he was either dreaming or had died already. Seeing this, Luo Qingshan summoned his Tyrian God battle garb, and said that little bull was just one of the most ordinary of the Patriarch's thousands of demon beasts. Can you believe it now? Older Lu's worldview, built up over tens of thousands of years, instantly collapsed, and he began to swallow the Jade Spring Divine Brew in big gulps. With the Patriarch's inheritance, the Forget Immortal Sect would finally rise again, and this time they vowed to eradicate the Divine Sword Sect once and for all. At this moment, the Divine Sword Sect finally remembered the fear of being dominated by the Forget Immortal Sect 10,000 years ago. The Black Thunder Bull Python and the Tyriangshan body are now in a frenzy of killing. However, a man in the Divine Sword Sect's hall is completely calm. This man is the Sect Master Jian Wuming. It turns out that he has long been deprived of his body by a mysterious force, and this force also sent someone to steal the soul-devouring bead. This attack on the Forget Immortal Sect was also provoked by him. At this moment, Jian Wuming has completely become a puppet. The disciples of the Divine Sword Sect were overjoyed to see the Sect Master come out again, but they quickly realized that even the Sect Master was not strong enough to deal with the Black Thunder Bull Python, let alone he had just recovered from a serious illness a month ago. They immediately asked the Sect Master to lead everyone to escape, because after all, as long as there are survivors, the Green Hills are not afraid of firewood. They could come back to attack the Forget Immortal Sect after rebuilding their sect. However, Jian Wuming, who had his body taken over by the magic bead, smirked and asked if he needed them, useless people, to replace the Forget Immortal Sect as his nourishment. He lifted the soul-devouring bead and flew into the air, and the entire sect was covered by the magic bead in an instant. All the disciples of the sect were motionless under the magic light, and in a blink of an eye, all the disciples were killed by having their souls sucked out. At this moment, the soul-devouring bead was even more expanded, and Jian Wuming, under the blessing of the magic bead, kept ascending his level. He soon reached the level of King Realm 2nd grade. Luo Qingshan and the Black Thunder Bull Python, who were not far away, were shocked to see the scene. They wondered if the Divine Sword Sect was killing themselves. Then they heard a noise behind the bull. No wonder the small Forget Immortal Sect dared to launch a counterattack. It turned out that there was a mutated Black Thunder Bull Python and even the legendary Tyriangshan body. This is interesting. Seeing this situation, the little black one was shocked. These two people turned out to be demons. It is difficult to kill demons who are good at using black energy, and they improve their cultivation by feeding on humans and beasts. But weren't the demons destroyed by humans hundreds of thousands of years ago? Why does the rekindling happen now in the small sword sect? Luo Qingshan immediately sent a message to Little Black. I'll hold back one demon, you quickly kill the other. Luo Qinshan knew he wasn't their match. That was a King Realm succubus, but she decided to fight to the death anyway. As soon as she moved forward, she used all her strength to perform her most powerful move, Burning Sky Flame Slash. With a single slash, the succubus lost all resistance. And at that moment, the Black Thunder Python pretended to be hit by the enemy. In its moment of complacency, it instantly wrapped its tail around the opponent. Then, in the sky, it gathered a huge thunderbolt and struck him. The two thought their plan had worked, but the next second, the succubus appeared unharmed, flying out of the flames. It was already impressive that someone at the Nourished Spirit Realm could unleash such power, but unfortunately, the gap in realm couldn't be crossed easily. Meanwhile, the Power Demon cruelly tore the tail of the Black Thunder Python. Even such an invincible defense was instantly broken. Just as the two demons were about to deal the final blow, two energy blades suddenly knocked them away. The mysterious pair then killed the two demons. Luo Qinshan rushed forward to express his gratitude and offer them the Jade Spring Divine Brew as a token of thanks. But the mysterious siblings didn't even glance at it, saying they weren't interested in such a vulgar thing. They had come from afar to retrieve the national treasure, the soul-eating orb, and the matter of the demons wasn't something that small sects like theirs should get involved in. Next time, they should remember to run as far as they can. But at this moment, the Element Demon had successfully refined the soul-eating orb. After 100,000 years, the half-step Emperor Realm Element Demon finally reappeared in the world. In the face of the unshackled Element Demon, the demon hunters were not afraid. What could a half-step Emperor do? Anyone who dared to steal their national treasure, the soul-eating orb, would have to die. The Black Thunder Python also realized what was going on. These were demon hunters, not only with demon blood, but also able to use the power of the demons, born with the ability to confront the demon clan beyond one's level. The battle to exterminate the demon clan 100,000 years ago. Their ancestors had made great contributions, but before they could finish speaking, the two demon slayers were instantly knocked to the ground. They were unable to break through the barrier of the Element Demon. It turned out that after refining the soul-devouring bead, it became a protective treasure with the laws of heaven and earth. It could not only be used for imprisonment but also for defense. With this, he was no longer afraid of any attacks. Hearing this, the demon slayers were frightened. It was actually the laws of heaven and earth. This was something they couldn't deal with at their level. They immediately prepared to flee. But at this moment, the original demon had already enveloped the entire continent with the soul-devouring bead. Two King Realm Demon Slayers, a mutated Black Thunder Bull Python, an Emperor-ranked battle garb, plus hundreds of Forget Immortal Sect disciples, all became my nourishment. At this moment, Luo Qinshan was filled with regret. He shouldn't have led all the disciples of the sect to counterattack. Now, he could only watch as his cultivation was slowly being absorbed. Just then, there was a sudden loud noise in the sky. My juniors, hello everyone. A huge vortex suddenly appeared in the sky, followed by a giant colorful arm descending from the sky. The Black Thunder Bull Python immediately recognized that its master had arrived. The original demon was also trembling with fear. To be able to exert the power of the laws of heaven and earth without external help, this person was at least above the Emperor Realm. This is just a small area where King Realm can claim to be king. Why would an Emperor Realm expert appear here, and still claiming to be the Patriarch of Forget Immortal Sect? At this point, Qinshan smiled and said, "The Patriarch is just here to say hello, not to save you." Oh, Qinshan also asked the system about something. I just shook hands with my junior. Don't consider it as making a move. System is speechless. As soon as this was said, Yuanimo breathed a sigh of relief. He thought that this level of powerful beings had already looked down upon life and death, and perhaps had no interest in the laws of life and death. Immediately afterwards, Qinshan politely said, "The way we greet each other in our place is to shake hands." While Element Demon was still dazed, a huge palm attacked from the sky. Wait, why did they shake hands with their junior and come towards me? Element Demon finally realized that he was the target. Element Demon was unwilling to be destroyed just like this. He had taken over the body of the Divine Sword Sect's Sect Master after enduring for 1,000 years, and it took him 10,000 years to refine the soul-devouring pearl. Why did he encounter such a powerful being as soon as he appeared in the world after being sneaky for so long? Was heaven determined to destroy his demonic race? If it was war, then so be it. The bloodline of the demon race was fully activated, the bloodline of the soul-devouring pearl was fully activated, and the heavenly sword battle garb was fully activated. After all, he was only half a step away from the Emperor Realm. As the strongest complete form of the demon race, Element Demon's firepower was now fully open. He was bursting with confidence. Come and fight. Even the Jade Emperor can't kill me now. At this moment, I am already the pinnacle of this continent. But before Element Demon could finish gloating, Qinshan blasted him away with a palm, sending him flying tens of thousands of meters. The entire continent was almost split in half. Qinshan sneered and said, "I, Shan Heaven Emperor, have been living in seclusion in this world for 10,000 years. and it seems that everyone has forgotten about me now. If you look at the history of the Hongmeng continent 10,000 years ago, you will find that every page is written with the words Shan Heaven Emperor is invincible, and Shan Heaven Emperor's greatest characteristic is protecting his own. As siblings who are demon hunters, they were instantly stunned. Who exactly is this? Even their Haoyue kingdom would be like ants in front of such a top-level powerhouse. The Patriarch decided to continue being a salted fish. Next, you all should study hard and make progress every day. At this moment, the younger generation bid farewell to the Patriarch in a proud manner. Xiao's siblings had an awkward look on their faces. Just a moment ago, it seemed like we were talking about them. Little Sect, don't meddle in other people's business. Who would have thought that their Patriarch was such a big shot? How about we give a gift to curry favor? Then, they stopped Luo Qingjin. This is the starfall map of our Haoyue kingdom. Please accept it as a token of gratitude for saving the Patriarch. The sudden gift shocked Luo Qingjin. This is a treasure map that records the location of a powerful fallen treasure. I cannot accept such a valuable gift. However, the Xiao siblings thought she was looking down on them and immediately kneeled, ready to fight her to the end. Luo Qingjin reluctantly accepted the gift after their persistent insistence. Suddenly, Luo Qingjin felt a sense of mission. Now that the archenemy Divine Sword Sect has turned into ruins and Forget Immortal Sect has found its faith, it is time to rebuild the Forget Immortal Sect. The crisis of the Forget Immortal Sect has been resolved, and the Patriarch has helped the younger generation resolve the sect's crisis. The first trial has been completed, and a direct reward of 10,000 years of power is given. Qinxian's realm has also reached Emperor Realm Tier 3. The system prompt stated that the next mission is related to the intruder of the 9 deaths and 1 life realm. The host needs to find clues on their own. With such generous rewards, Qinxian is looking forward to the next mission. At the same time, an old man suddenly visited the 9 deaths and 1 life realm. This person is named Jade Face Venerable Wenbaiyu. At the peak of the King realm, he thought he was invincible, and the ferocious beasts here treated him with utmost respect. Now that his life is coming to an end, he is preparing to find a geomantic treasure land to bury himself. How could he know who the real owner of this place would be? Suddenly, there was a loud noise in the sky, and Qinxian appeared in a shining manner. Upon seeing this, Wenbaiyu, of the King realm, couldn't help but kneel down on the ground. Qinxian questioned him, "How dare you trespass into my 9 deaths and 1 life realm? Are you going to take matters into your own hands, or shall I do it?" Unexpectedly, Wenbaiyu suddenly straightened his back and said, "I, Jade Face Venerable, am renowned throughout the world. You might have some misunderstandings about me." But the next second, he knelt down on the ground again. At a glance, he had seen Qinxian's true strength. Qinxian thought to himself, since the system prompts that the next task is related to this person, I'll ask if there are any task clues. He then asked, "Have you seen any declining sect forces or descendants of the Qin family?" Jade Face Venerable frankly stated that 10 years ago, he had mentored 2 outstanding youths surnamed Chen on the Hongmeng continent's east side. One of them had exceptional talent and progressed rapidly, while the other was a complete waste, despite having the innate thunder-like body. Although he had imparted his knowledge to the latter, it was of no use. Jade Face Venerable continued, "During my thousands of years in this world, I've found that females surnamed Chen are usually talented, while males surnamed Chen are mostly trash." Hearing this, Qinxian looked embarrassed and said, "My surname is Chen." He then controlled a colorful fist and was about to strike Jade Face Venerable, but suddenly pulled out a pear from his palm. "Since you mentored my later generations, let me offer you a pear." Jade Face Venerable, a renowned figure, had never suffered such humiliation. However, he had to swallow his pride in front of this powerful person. Suddenly, Wenbaiyu's old face turned red. "This taste is not a pear, but a millennium-old holy medicine that I have been seeking for ages, the golden snake-coiled fruit. Just one can replenish 1,000 years of life." He had searched for 1,000 years but had never found one. "I just imparted some knowledge to your later generations. You don't have to thank me at such a great cost." But while saying so, he is honestly and desperately gnawing on the food, even though he feels embarrassed. Qinxian pointed to the basket of radishes beside him. "I have a lot of useless things. If no one eats them, they will rot." Wenbaiyu widened her eyes in surprise and then hugged Qinxian's thigh tightly. "Regardless of his image, I'll be your underling. Even if I were your son, I would be willing to use my entire life to support you." Qinxian was speechless. "If the system didn't forbid me from taking direct action, I wouldn't have taken an old man like you as my subordinate. However, now is the time when he needs someone to run errands." Meanwhile, on the other side, Qinxian's descendant, Qin Daorang, looked puzzled. As the head of the Qin family, he prayed for Patriarch to help his family while looking at the Xian token left to him by Patriarch. If only Patriarch were still here. Suddenly, there was a thunder in the sky, and the token instantly emitted a dazzling white light. Qinxian Patriarch is going to take action again. 100,000 years have passed. In the easternmost part of the Hongmeng continent, the Qin family, which had fallen on hard times, was no longer prosperous. Qin Daorang, the head of the family, was also constantly ostracized by the academy. Others could obtain high-quality resources, but he could only eat the worst food every day. Unfortunately, the academy distributed resources based on merit. Although Chen Daorang had the envy of many people with his innate thunder body, his meridians were narrow, and he could not absorb the spiritual energy. As a result, he became a waste in everyone's eyes, and his cultivation ranked at the bottom of the academy. That day, Chen Daorang only received a few pieces of the worst fruit. The sister who ranked first in the academy's ranking took out her own Nimbus chicken leg to give to Chen Daorang, but he was mocked by everyone for taking advantage of his sister. Yi Yuma, the second-ranked student in the White Deer Academy, even ridiculed him. "You waste. Return the spiritual food to Kair. Look at you. You are so cowardly. Even your siblings have received guidance from Senior One. Your younger sister ranked first in the academy, while elder brother ranked last. It's better to submit to the academy like my family, so that you can get good practice resources, instead of being cheated like your sister who only gets a small chicken leg despite being ranked first." Sister Kair couldn't bear it anymore and was about to draw her sword. "Yi Yuma, shut up. My brother was doing it for their family." At this moment, Chen Daorang stepped in and stopped his younger sister, saying, "Don't resort to violence. We are a large family and we should use a gentleman's way to resolve disputes." This caused everyone to burst into laughter. "You must still be dreaming. Do you think your Chen family existed 100,000 years ago? You can insult me, but don't blame me for being impolite if you insult my family." Yi Yuma laughed and looked up. "Chen family pig, what do you want to do to be impolite?" And Chen Daorang stopped him by stuffing a pear into his mouth. The smell suddenly became unbearable, as the stench filled the air. Although this thing has some spiritual power, its smell really is like feces. While Yi Yuma was vomiting, Chen Daorang quickly took his resources and ran away, leaving the courtyard to count his loot and plan to give them to his sister. She will definitely be able to make significant progress in her cultivation again. Looking at the statue in front of him, Chen Daorang thought of the founder of the academy, one who had created the academy with the aim of providing a fair opportunity for everyone to practice and benefit the people. However, after only 10 years, the academy was monopolized by the new principal. To obtain practice resources, one must sign an agreement with the academy and become a member, which Chen Daorang refused to do as it would mean the end of his family. This had led to his family being targeted and being called useless. Unfortunately, it was a waste of his sister's talent. He looked at the Shan character command passed down from the Patriarch in his hand. If the Patriarch were still here, they could have dominated the academy and led the Chen family to the world. At this moment, the impoverished Chen family suddenly received an unexpected visitor, who turned out to be the current dean of White Deer Academy, Bai Dongrang. "This is an agreement signed voluntarily by your sister, Chen Kair. 10 days later, if she wins the enrollment competition, she will be a member of the academy from then on. After that, your Chen family won't have to submit to the academy but can still enjoy its abundant resources. Sacrificing one woman for the hope of the whole clan, isn't that a good deal?" However, the dean had his own schemes. He wanted to use Chen Kair's identity as a descendant of Wen and expand his influence through her, then profit from it. Chen Daorang walked up to his sister with a gloomy face, feeling ridiculous at how he had wasted her talent all these years to preserve the so-called dignity of their family. "It's my fault for not bowing my head for the sake of our family's so-called dignity and wasting your great talent. I'm sorry, little sister," he said. He then went to the sculpture of Wenbaiyu and placed offerings in front of it, devoutly saying to the command token left by the Patriarch, "You said that the family can ask for your help in times of crisis. Now that our family is in decline, and we're about to lose even my sister, can you lend us a hand?" Suddenly, the Patriarch's command token glowed blue, followed by a thunderbolt that directly hit Chen Daorang. "You irresponsible Patriarch. You said to come to you in times of crisis, but now you're using thunder to strike me. Watch me eat up your offerings and use my urine to wake you up." Meanwhile, Wenbaiyu received instructions from Chen Xian and happened to teleport there. "It's raining," he muttered, though he was actually furious. But after all, he was a descendant of Chen Xian. Wen was too scared to do anything. Then, he flung Chen Daorang away with one hand. Immediately, they flew for a day and a night to reach the hall of Chen Xian. "Your Patriarch is inside. Come with me," he said. Chen Daorang was shocked and delighted. "My Patriarch made it after all, and he's even working under one." Excitedly, he walked into the depths of the palace. But the next second, he was stunned by what he saw. Wasn't that beggar sleeping in the garbage heap the Chen family's Patriarch? Was he really reduced to guarding the door for one? He looked so lowly and disappointing. Suddenly, a strange noise came from behind the Patriarch's heap of garbage, and a large bird appeared. Chen Daorang was instantly scared out of his wits. "Oh no, how could my Patriarch be sleeping next to this demon beast?" He recognized it as the powerful purple dark-winged sparrow. He quickly begged Wen to save his Patriarch. But the next second, Wen fell to his knees. "What's going on?" Was Wen also scared by the bird? Then, the purple dark-winged sparrow spoke up. "Little one brought your junior here. Get up, master." This scene made Chen Daorang question his entire life. Why were both Wen and the bird calling his Patriarch master? Seeing their respectful behavior, Chen Daorang finally believed that his Patriarch was indeed their master. How could this be possible? Was he dreaming? At that moment, Luo Qingchen flew over holding a calf. She immediately washed the Patriarch's face with a slime, thanking him for giving the Battle Garb Emperor's scripture and the help of Black. Now the sect is on the rise again. The Patriarch ordered little Luo to cook. This scene stunned Chen Daorang even more. His Patriarch was actually giving her such valuable things. It seemed the Patriarch's generosity knew no bounds. As a direct relative, he couldn't help but think that it was a heaven-sent opportunity. With this in mind, Chen Daorang quickly gave a respectful bow to the Patriarch. He thought that as long as the Patriarch sent him some Imperial-level demonic beasts or something, the problem would be solved. But his thoughts were instantly seen through by Chen Qian. He had managed the family so poorly, yet still wanted rewards. He should be punished first. Chen Qian waved his hand lightly, and with that one strike, Chen Daorang's cultivation and battle garb were instantly destroyed. He was already a useless person, and now he had truly become a waste. Chen Daorang held his chest in pain and did not understand why the Patriarch would do this. The Patriarch bluntly said, "I only destroyed your battle garb and cultivation, but my battle garb and cultivation were already at the waste level. If they are destroyed, what's the difference between me and a pile of mud?" The Patriarch said the punishment was not over yet. "I have been reading books on alchemy recently. You will stay here and become my cauldron boy. You will need to burn the fire for me for about 10 days to half a month. Don't even think about leaving." Upon hearing this, Chen Daorang panicked. "My younger sister has a martial arts contest in 10 days. I must return immediately." But the Patriarch suddenly became fierce. "You have no right to refuse. From now on, you must obey me. Either burn the furnace well, and I'll let you go back, or you'll have only one dead end." Helpless, Chen Daorang had to bite the bullet and kneel down to thank him. "He's my own Patriarch. Why is he so cruel to his own family members? I didn't even gain any benefits. Now, I feel like I'm going to die." 3 days later, at the White Deer Academy's martial arts arena, Chen Kaier had successfully passed her first test, easily defeating a strong man who was only superficially skilled. Everyone was deeply impressed by her immense talent, considering she had no cultivation resources and was still far stronger than those who were born with a silver spoon in their mouths. However, at this moment, Chen Kaier was worried. "Since I signed the agreement, my brother has disappeared. Is he still angry with me?" New Dean Bai Dongrang watched Chen Kaier's perfect performance, planning his own scheme. After winning the competition, he would package her as Wen's senior disciple and expand their influence in Wen's name. Meanwhile, in the Patriarch's palace, Chen Daorang was busy tending to the alchemy furnace, having worked tirelessly for a day and a night. Just as he was about to rest, the Patriarch shouted at him, reminding him that he had been stripped of his battle garb, cultivation, rest, and food. Chen Daorang clenched his fists and dared not complain. The day of Chen Kaier's competition arrived, and she had already defeated the affiliated forces of 9 academies. One more victory and she would become the strongest of her generation, thanks to Wen's guidance. The final challenger was Yi Yuma, who was ranked second at the Bailu Academy. Yi Yuma expressed surprise that Chen Kaier was willing to submit to the academy, but she insisted on helping her brother become a genius. Yi Yuma mocked her, saying that even if her brother had more resources, he would still be a waste. Feeding pigs with the resources you have will yield better returns than giving them to your brother. Chen Kaier then used the White Deer Sword art, surprising everyone with her skill in Wen's self-created technique. Yi Yuma was doomed to lose, and even the dean couldn't help but sigh, wishing that Yi Yuma could just be content with being second best. Chen Kaier demanded that Yi Yuma apologize to Chen Kaier's brother, sparing his life. Just as everyone thought Yi Yuma would lose, something unexpected happened. Unexpectedly, Yi Yuma smirked at this. Then, with a speed invisible to the naked eye, he punched Kaier in the lower abdomen. This punch instantly destroyed Chen Kaier's spiritual veins. Suddenly, 2 identical Yi Yumas appeared on the field, leaving everyone stunned. The dean was shocked and sat up. "Isn't that the rare battle garb left by Senior One in the academy? The twin battle garb?" No one wanted to believe that Chen Kaier would be defeated with just one hit. Yi Yuma pointed at Chen Kaier proudly and said, "I'll use your brother's words to reply to you. It's true that fortunes can change in an instant. Don't underestimate the poor youth." The dean's face was full of disbelief. He himself had always wanted to obtain the twin battle garb, which not only doubled the host's abilities but also gave them 2 lives. But it was left specifically for those with fate by Senior One. Where did this guy come from? At this moment, Yi Yuma was looking up at the sky, laughing smugly. "I was able to get the twin battle garb all thanks to Chen Daorang. If I hadn't eaten that shit pear and gotten diarrhea that day, I wouldn't have fallen into the academy's pit and found the twin battle garb." Chen Daorang had not rested for 10 days and nights and was deeply frustrated by this partial and biased patriarch who forgot his obligations after seeing someone attractive. He was indignant when he received a message from his family's token that Chinkaire's cultivation had been destroyed by Yuma and that he was currently on the verge of death. He was instructed to return home immediately. Meanwhile, on the martial arts stage, Yuma and his twin battle garb had an overwhelming advantage. He lifted Chinkaire with one hand and said, "I was originally looking for your brother to settle accounts, but he's disappeared these past few days. Why don't you kneel down and apologize for your brother?" The woman spat and said, "I refuse." Upon hearing this, Yuma immediately slapped Chinkaire in the face. "Do you still think you're the top student in the academy? If you don't kneel, I'll keep hitting you until you do." He then unleashed a furious barrage of attacks, causing the male students below to grind their teeth in anger. "Do you have no compassion for women?" they wondered. Chinkaire, the goddess of the academy, had already lost the ability to resist. Why didn't Yuma stop? This was clearly a case of settling a personal grudge in public. The dean of the academy not only did nothing to stop it, but even told Yuma to continue. He said that even if he killed Chinkaire, he would take responsibility for the consequences. The dean already had a new plan in mind. Now, Yuma, who was more obedient, had the twin battle garb left by Senior 1. This made him much stronger than Chinkaire, who had only received some guidance. If he could become Senior 1's spokesperson, he could easily increase the academy's influence several times over. Yuma was no longer constrained by any concerns, and even came up with a more malicious idea than simply killing Chinkaire. He looked at Kaire's long, slender legs and kicked them, breaking her leg bones and shattering her dantian. From then on, the academy's pride and joy became a useless person. At this moment, Chen Daorang sensed that his sister was in danger and angrily demanded that the Patriarch let him go back to save her. But the Patriarch was enjoying the sunshine, the beach, and the bikini-clad girls and couldn't care less about his younger generation. Chen Daorang was furious. "Chen Qian, you're a real scumbag," he said. "If you're intentionally trying to make things difficult for me, just kill me. There's no need to be so cruel. I know I'm useless. The responsibility for our family's decline rests on me. But now my own sister is about to be beaten to death, and you're still favoring others. Rather than being humiliated by you and watching my sister die miserably, I'd rather fight you to the death. Even if I can't win, I'll die like a man." Just then, Chen Daorang suddenly felt a surge of energy coursing through his body. It seemed that his innate thunder and lightning body had been reactivated once again, daring to be so presumptuous towards Patriarch. "Don't you see what changes have happened to your body?" At this moment, he suddenly felt that the narrow spiritual veins had suddenly become extremely broad, and his concentrating realm cultivation that was abolished seemed to have leaped into divine realm. When Baiyu stepped forward and spoke frankly, "Do you think Patriarch wanted to kill you? Patriarch just sealed your battle garb. Abolishing your cultivation was actually sealing your original cultivation. The release of pressure was to seal your speed. Not letting you rest was to seal your physical body. The ultimate goal is to bestow upon you a completely new battle garb." The words have not yet fallen. Suddenly the pill furnace behind him opened on its own. Then a golden light burst out and instantly wrapped around him. This was the four-sealed battle garb, one of the top 10 ancient battle garbs that surpasses the battle garb. Chen Daorang suddenly felt a significant increase in his power. So, Patriarch was doing it for my own good. Then why did he treat me that way before? When continued to speak, the conditions for using the four-sealed battle garb are complicated. The host's 4 powers must be sealed, and the host's anger must be used as attraction. That's why Patriarch kept provoking you. Once you become extremely angry, the battle garb can be perfectly integrated. Before you arrived, Patriarch spent the whole night selecting battle garb for you. He even sacrificed the 1,000-year essence to unlock the 4-sealed battle garb. It was precisely because of this that Patriarch looked so haggard when you arrived. Chen Daorang was flattered. "So, all that trash on the mountain was chosen for me. Then why didn't he just say it directly instead of making it seem like he wanted to kill me?" Luo Qinshan told him that it was Patriarch's quirk. He always beat around the bush when giving good things. He would never say it straightforwardly. He's such a tsundere. The 3 of them were chattering away, crazy gossiping. Chen Qian looked at them, feeling speechless. "If it weren't for the system's requirement that I can't directly give it to you, I wouldn't waste my expressions on you guys." The system was speechless. They promised to punish Chen Daorang, but in the end, they gave him a big gift. Patriarch just pretended to sleep and didn't see it. Anyway, I didn't give it directly to him, so it doesn't count as a violation, right? Chen Daorang behind me instantly fell to his knees on the ground. "Thank you, Patriarch, for giving me the battle garb. If I have offended you, please punish me." Chen Qian waved his hand and said, "Don't talk nonsense. I didn't give you anything, and the gift you received is for kneeling to your father. You even kneeled wrong." However, Chen Daorang said with emotion, "My father passed away when I was very young. He was also someone who spoke harshly but was actually kind-hearted, just like you were to me. So I didn't kneel wrong. You are like my father to me." Upon hearing this, the Patriarch immediately stood up with tears streaming down his face and said, "Here, take this little wooden stick and go back and beat up those who bullied your sister." At this time, Yuma used the severely injured Chen Kaier as a threat, demanding that the Chen family sign a surrender agreement. The elder of the Chen family had already been bribed, and just as they were about to sign, Chen Daorang arrived in time. After a few days of not seeing each other, you dare to make decisions for me, punching the elder into the ground. Facing Yuma's aggressive behavior, Chen Daorang smashed the agreement with one palm and said, I can't do what you want. If you want to fight me, I'll accompany you to the end. If I lose, my whole family is at your disposal. If I win, I might kill you. If you accept the challenge, we'll see the outcome on the arena tomorrow. The Academy's recognized #1 waste challenged the strongest in the Academy, gambling with the lives of his entire family. Everyone thought he was crazy. Even his sister, who was so strong, couldn't beat Yuma. This guy was simply giving himself away. The dean also said, UMO, you don't have to hold back. Just kill him for me. This time I must teach these people who go against the Academy a lesson and establish my own authority. Yuma's face was full of contempt. Now that I have my twin battle garb on, defeating you is as easy as crushing an ant. Chen Daorang didn't hesitate at all. You're just lucky to have stumbled upon one senior's inheritance in a dung heap because of me. During the days I was away from home, do you think I didn't come across any opportunities? Yuma was taken aback by the sudden burst of momentum. The confidence he exuded was so strong that he must have really obtained some inheritance or opportunity. While he was still in a daze, Chen Daorang suddenly punched him hard. Yuma instinctively activated his protective energy to defend himself, but he didn't expect Chen Daorang to be directly bounced away. Then, he heavily fell to the ground. Yuma was stunned by the scene. He was just so fierce a moment ago. What's going on? The dean burst into laughter at the sight. He thought Chen Daorang was so confident and powerful, but he ended up being defeated by Yuma with just one move, just like his little sister. The students were also speechless. Indeed, he was a rubbish in the nourished spirit realm, who couldn't be saved. He even bounced himself off with protective energy when he ran into someone else's. Yuma stepped forward to mock him. What a pretentious trash. I thought you had some real skills, but I didn't even have to make a move before you were done. Chen Daorang explained that he was using his new battle garb in combat for the first time and had forgotten to release its seal. Moreover, the more he sealed himself, the stronger the battle garb became after being unsealed. Before Yuma could start ridiculing him, Chen Daorang suddenly attacked and knocked him down with a single palm strike. Everyone present was amazed. When did this guy become so strong? Chen Daorang also closed his eyes and showed off his arrogance. Yuma was just a mere opponent. I only needed to slightly exert myself to reach his limit. But when he opened his eyes again, Yuma had already disappeared without a trace. Yuma had activated the twin battle garb, dodging the fatal strike. Yuma decided not to hold back and immediately used the 4 forbidden techniques. The 4 spiritual images were startlingly visible, causing everyone to be shocked. These were the spiritual image forbidden techniques passed down by one senior, and even someone as talented as Chen Kaier had only learned one. Yuma had surprisingly learned all 4. The dean couldn't help but exclaim his exceptional talent, stating that with Yuma around, the Academy's future was limitless. After the frightening blow earlier, Yuma didn't dare to take things lightly. However, Chen Daorang was completely composed at the moment. You thought I only had that much power earlier? Chen Daorang said, unsealing his speed and landing a kick to Yuma's stomach at an incredible pace. Before Yuma could react, he was sent flying with a palm strike. In an instant, all 4 spiritual images were shattered. This scene left the dean bald in shock. Not only were the spiritual images destroyed, but Yuma's twin battle garb was also shattered. When Senior's twin battle garb is nothing, Chen Daorang boasted. He's just my Patriarch's little brother. I've even peed on his face before. Yuma couldn't believe Chen Daorang had become so strong. You must have used some crooked technique, Yuma accused. Since you don't believe me, Chen Daorang responded, I'll give you no chance to doubt me again. Chen Daorang unleashed his power, including the Divine Realm and Thunderlight body, with the 4 seal battle garb, crushing Yuma completely. What twin battle garb? Chen Daorang sneered. I have 4 seal battle garb, 2 more than you. The dean coughed up blood in disbelief. The 4 seal battle garb was one of the ancient 10 great battle garbs, and he couldn't believe Chen Daorang had reached the Divine Realm 1st rank. Bai Dongrang couldn't believe his eyes. This legendary battle garb actually existed. At this moment, Yuma has been driven insane. This must be a dream. How could a loser like you be my opponent? Driven by the desire to avenge his sister, Chen Daorang was determined to kill. He launched a full-force palm strike towards Yuma's face, leaving him with no chance of standing up again. The students on the platform looked on in shock and amazement. Chen Daorang had actually killed Yuma, but Chen Daorang was unfazed by this act. Don't make a fuss, he said. It was he who broke the rules and gravely injured my sister. He brought this upon himself. Bai Dongrang was furious to see his prized student killed in such a manner. He only crippled your sister's cultivation. You went too far by killing him. Today, you either pledge allegiance to our academy in Yuma's place, or you die. Chen Daorang was not intimidated in the slightest. I made a life and death agreement with him. Killing him was justified. Are you not afraid of being mocked for attacking a student? In the world of martial arts, strength is paramount. If you don't submit to our White Deer Academy, death is your only option. Life is precious, but if it means our clan must submit to your academy, then I'd rather die. You red-haired old bald donkey. The students were shocked to hear him insult the academy head in public. He doesn't know the meaning of death. Seeing Bai Dongrang's arrogance, Chen Daorang unleashed his trump card, White Whale Dive. This was a move that had once allowed his predecessor, Wen Baiyu, to single-handedly defeat 3 major sects. Sealing release. Followed by the collision of 2 tremendous forces, an astonishing energy burst out instantly, and even disciples with low cultivation levels were directly knocked away. Even the forest miles away was affected by it. Chen Daorang's strength completely exceeded their expectations. After the dust gradually dispersed, the dean could be seen panting and crouching on the ground. The students couldn't help but exclaim, who would have thought Chen Daorang had such power? Even the dean was injured by him. Moreover, what about the dean's hair? Bai Dongrang couldn't help feeling scared. He never expected that a loser could injure him to this extent. With such a record, even if he died, he could leave his mark in the history of the academy. At this moment, a burst of laughter suddenly came from the smoke and dust. If the dean could survive the battle against the 10 ancient battle garbs, he should be the one to leave his mark in history. This scene shocked everyone again. This guy actually didn't die, and he seemed to be completely unscathed. The dean couldn't believe what he saw, and immediately became alert, thinking that this guy must have had powerful magic tools to help him. If he was not eliminated today, he would become a threat in the future. But only Chen Daorang himself knew that he was pretending to be calm but was actually seriously injured. Trying to forcibly withstand this attack from a King Realm warrior, he could barely hold on. Chen Daorang, innocent people carry a jade, but those guilty are punished. Don't blame me for being ruthless this time. Before he finished speaking, Bai Dongrang made another move with the White Whale Falling technique. This move was extremely vicious and rarely used consecutively, because it consumed a large amount of life force. Therefore, when Wen Senior encountered an ambush that year, he retreated from the arena after using this move. Seeing this situation, Chen Daorang no longer concealed his plan. He had originally planned to save the artifact for later use. Looks like there's no other way this time. This is the artifact that I finally managed to retrieve from Patriarch 100,000 years ago. I will definitely use this artifact to smash you to death. Upon hearing this, Bai Dongrang panicked. This guy has the ancient 4-sealed battle garb, so it's not surprising if he really has some artifact in his hand. But when Chen Daorang opened it, everyone present was stunned. It was just a piece of firewood. Chen Daorang was dumbfounded. Isn't this the firewood I use for my alchemy furnace? I'm done for now. Bai Dongrang couldn't stop laughing. A waste holding a piece of waste. You really are a perfect match. Everyone was speechless. It turned out that he wasn't uninjured. He was just beaten silly. But at this moment, Chen Daorang still chose to believe in Patriarch. This is something that Patriarch bestowed upon me. It must be an ancient artifact. At the same time, Chen Xian Patriarch looked extremely embarrassed, because he knew that it was really just an ordinary piece of firewood. He was moved to tears by the plot of the protagonist losing his father when he was young, and he accidentally packed the wrong item. He originally wanted to give him a heavy ancient artifact. It was only then that he realized why the system didn't stop him at the time. The system had long known that it was just a piece of waste wood. Now that the situation is urgent, he must break the rules to save this junior. Otherwise, Chen Daorang will undoubtedly die. But the system requires him not to act directly. Patriarch had a sudden inspiration. If I can't help the junior directly, then I'll help the stick. Then he applied spiritual power to the stick through the air. The broken stick instantly restored itself and, with the help of the spiritual power, suddenly spun rapidly. It pierced through Bai Dongrang's spirit body of the giant whale and quickly smashed into his arm. Bai Dongrang's arm armor shattered instantly, and his entire arm seemed to be twisted. The students were shocked. What kind of terrifying artifact is this stick? Just an ordinary strike shattered all the bones in his hand. Bai Dongrang was shocked, wondering if this terrifying power was the legendary stick intention. When everyone was puzzled about what stick intention was, the wooden stick had already swiftly returned to Chen Daorang's hand. I knew Patriarch wouldn't deceive me. This stick is indeed a divine weapon. At that moment, however, Bai Dongrang's eyes became strange, and his hair suddenly grew wild. Even if you have stick intention, so what? Just so happens that I've been meditating every day for years to regrow my hair, and inadvertently discovered whip intention for myself. Remember, the whip naturally restrains the stick. Since ancient times, those with strong stick intention have never been able to defeat whip intention. You might as well just accept your death. The students were stunned. Suddenly, the bald head of the dean began to grow hair wildly, and he loudly shouted, "Come on, loser. You should feel honored to have come this far with me." Chen Daorang tightly gripped the wooden stick and replied, "Even if the whip restrains the stick, so what? This was given to me by Patriarch. I unconditionally trust Patriarch. but the next moment, his stick was entangled by Bai Dongrang's wild red hair. In the face of Bai Dongrang's ultimate move, he had no more strength to defend himself. Suddenly, Patriarch transmitted a message to Chen Daorang, telling him to try unleashing his stick intention with the four-sealed battle garb. At that moment, the wooden stick in Chen Daorang's hand began to grow larger and larger until it was like a huge needle. With a fierce strike, the giant whale was instantly shattered. Even Bai Dongrang could not understand how stick intention could grow larger, and the continuing growth of the stick even smashed his statue in the distance. Chen Xian looked on with satisfaction at this scene, remarking, "My disciples really are exceptionally gifted." The system was speechless, wondering what kind of stick intention Patriarch had given him, and how it could possibly be so strong. "I only passed on my staff skills to my juniors, and did not directly take action. This doesn't count as a foul, does it? But if you want to know what this staff skill is, I'll reluctantly tell you. This is the book I've been studying recently, and it's also the staff skill I learned from the Monkey King." And at this moment, Bai Dongrang seemed to have no vitality left, while Chen Daorang looked at the shrinking staff in his hand. The Patriarch's artifact is indeed terrifying. Immediately, he shouted to the students below the stage, "The dean is dead, and now I am the new dean. Does anyone have any objections?" Everyone present expressed their submission. After all, whoever became the dean was the same to them. It was just the death of an annoying person and the arrival of another. However, Chen Daorang became serious. "I want to reform. You don't need to kneel and submit to me. The original intention of Senior when founding the academy was to let everyone practice equally. I won't monopolize all the resources for my own selfish desires like Bai Dongrang. Without destruction, there can be no construction. From today on, I want to create a world where everyone can practice, and no one needs to submit to anyone." From now on, Bailu Academy became a sanctuary for public practice, and Chen Daorang's strength made everyone afraid to have any evil thoughts. Chen Kaier, his younger sister, gradually recovered her health, and the Chen family's reputation and territory once again shook the east of the Hongming realm. At this time, in the 9 Deaths and 1 Life realm, Chen Xian's realm had broken through to the Supreme One Piece Earth rank due to completing a system task, and he no longer had to worry about being attacked by anyone. He then prepared to ask Little Luo to cook, but suddenly found that the Black Thunderbolt Python and the Purple Ghostly Ming Sparrow were both severely injured on the ground. Chen Xian suddenly felt an unprecedented fear. How is this possible? Who did this? Just then, there was a sudden sound behind Chen Xian. "Hello, Chen Xian. This is my gift to you. Do you like it?" An aquatic element unexpectedly appeared here. In a fit of rage, Chen Xian didn't want to hear him talk. "I want you dead." A spiritual hand descended from the sky in an instant. "What? Your strength has increased." But in the next second, he sneered. How could it have only increased by a little compared to back then? A large hand covered in blue scales instantly blocked the attack. "Haha, Chen Xian, you've been hiding here for too long. You can't keep up with the times. You owe so much blood debt from back then, and you still want to escape now? You'll just be a coward and keep running away." In an instant, countless blue giant claws rushed towards Chen Xian. Blood debt must be paid with blood, and it's a destiny that you can't escape. Just as he was panicking, a shout was heard. "Patriarch, Patriarch, you're finally awake. The fried chicken you wanted is already done." It turns out that it was all just a dream, but the enemy in the dream felt so real, as if a strong opponent was waiting for him. "Chen Daorang, Little Luo, do you think nightmares can come true?" Chen Xian asked. Upon hearing this, Luo Qinshan immediately raised his hand and said, "Patriarch, I know nightmares. I often have hunger dreams at night because I don't eat to keep my figure, but the more I starve, the bigger they become. I even feel inferior because of it." This theory really stuns people. When the Chen family was down and out, I used to wake up scared by nightmares every day. It's well known that there are grievances in this world. If someone has too much grievance towards you, then you'll have nightmares. "So, did you leave behind any enemies with deep grievances, Patriarch?" Chen Xian carefully counted on his fingers and replied, "I have enemies that I can count on both hands, but that's not a lot." However, the next second, he was so frightened that he foamed at the mouth. It turned out that Chen Xian was counting in tens of thousands. He had lived for 200,000 years and had caused a lot of trouble, accumulating a pile of enemies. At this point, Chen Xian just wanted to become stronger and immediately asked the system, "Where's my next successor? I want to start trial 3. "Don't worry, host, you don't have to wait this time because of an unexpected event. The task started 10,000 years ago because the threat from the demon clan was not completely eradicated. The Merlin that was born from their dead body is now once again a threat to humanity." However, at this moment Zhu Wuyan was still thinking about how to escape the battle. Even the passing old lady couldn't bear to watch. Zhu Wuyan, who now poses a threat to the human race, was ashamed to escape when even dogs can cultivate, but he had a sad expression on his face. Do you really think I don't want to participate in the battle? It's military regulations that prohibit disabled people from participating in the war. Then he pulled out a disability certificate. So you're disabled, the old lady said. Did we blame you wrongly? But you have all your limbs intact. Where are you disabled? Faced with the old lady's questioning, he knew he couldn't hide it any longer. He had to show them his most vulnerable scar by opening his mouth wide. They looked at it for a long time but couldn't see any problem. Zhu Wuyan was now in tears. Can't you see it? He cried. I was born without tonsils. This is the most important organ for humans. Without tonsils, how can I fight? The old lady couldn't take it anymore. Fuck you, you're embarrassing. How can you apply for a disability certificate for such a trivial matter? I'll beat you up and make you disabled for real today. But a figure came and stopped them. Is Zhu Wuyan okay? Zhu Wuyan pretended not to know, but Mao Mo, who wanted to climb the ranks and become rich, did not intend to let him go. He wanted to kill Zhu Wuyan with one sword. At this critical moment, Zhu Wuyan's heart was pounding. The battle garb of the war god was guiding him to fight. However, he had been farming diligently for decades. How could he be a match for a divine realm powerhouse? Seeing the opponent's sword about to fall, he suddenly stood up. With one swing of his hoe, he unleashed an immense power and knocked down the opponent. It turned out that when he was sitting paralyzed on the ground, Zhu Wuyan saw that Mao Mo had actually stepped on the rice seedlings that he had worked so hard to plant. You can kill me, but dare to destroy my planted rice seedlings. Be careful, I'll kill you. This provoked an endless fighting spirit in Zhu Wuyan. You see, the only thing Zhu Wuyan cared about was his own land. Mao Men hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. Don't kill my brother. I will compensate you for the rice seedlings. Zhu Wuyan pointed at her nose and shouted sternly, but you have to compensate me with a whole penny. And if you dare to speak of my power, I'll kill him too. Mao Men repeatedly promised, but her mind was full of Zhu Wuyan's moves just now. If she guessed correctly, was that really the war god Rock? In other words, he had been the war god all along? The two of them had to rush back to the battlefield as soon as possible. When they arrived, they were stunned by the scene before them. The ground was littered with the corpses of the human race, and Merlin was in charge. The surviving fighting force had only one person left, General Wuho, and all the others were wounded. Moreover, there had been no news from the people sent out to find the war god. Now, he could only stand up again, forcibly overexerting his body. Ancestor war god, come down and help me. At this point, if the human race wanted to survive, they had to risk their lives. However, he was lower in rank than Merlin, and he was injured, so he was quickly defeated. Mao Men anxiously watched the scene. General Wuho. She couldn't care too much and wanted to tell the general about her discovery, but she was stopped by a figure in front of her. Stop. Are you trying to get Zhu Wuyan to kill me? Mao Men was completely enraged by her brother's selfishness at this critical juncture and slapped him. Get out of my way. Only cares about oneself, a coward who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Then he went straight to the marshal. Wuho, we found the war god, but I need time to invite him over. This news is like a shot of adrenaline, giving the desperate human army great hope. Then you go quickly. I will hold on until you come back. At this time, Zhu Wuyan was tying a rope on a tree because he was afraid of being sent to death on the battlefield if his strength was exposed. He was about to hang herself. Rather than being killed by Merlin, he would rather end her own life. Suddenly a voice came. Zhu Wuyan, what are you doing? He was already very nervous, but he was so scared that he kicked the stool away and swung on the tree. Mao Men thought he was swinging on a swing and wanted to explain, but he couldn't catch his breath and couldn't say anything. Mao Men said to him, you don't have to say anything. I have already told Wuho about your identity. Now the human race needs you. Please come and fight with me. Zhu Wuyan remained silent all the time. She thought that Zhu Wuyan was still angry about her brother's matter, so she had to say, as long as you are willing to help the human race, I am willing to die for my brother. But Zhu Wuyan still didn't say a word. She seemed to remember something at this moment. Then you said that as long as I married you, you would go to the battlefield. Okay, I will marry you. Suddenly, with a bang, Mao Men was attracted by this movement and saw Zhu Wuyan slowly rising and floating in the air. At the critical moment, he actually erupted with endless small universe. Is this for real? Because of love, this peasant suddenly learned to fly. On the battlefield, Wuho led the last remnants, resisting until the end, unaware that all of this was Merlin's trap, designed to lure out the war god. Despite this, the human race was on the verge of collapse. With a crack, Wuho's war spear broke in response to the last attack, and after countless battles, he ultimately died at the hands of Merlin. Countless cries echoed on the battlefield. Marshal. The final attack had already been launched towards him, but suddenly, a hoe appeared before his eyes and blocked the attack at the critical moment. Both sides were stunned at the scene. What? A human can block my attack? Zhu Wuyan had arrived just in time at the last moment. Is this the war god? Zhu Wuyan was internally flustered, having never seen a demon before, especially not one with such a ferocious appearance. Both sides stared at each other in disbelief. Is this the war god? And is he really at 0 cultivation? It turns out this was a fake war god, delaying time. All demons listen up. Quickly kill the human army. The entire demon army rushed out with countless roars. The demon general directly attacked Zhu Wuyan, shouting, "I'll eat you now." Zhu Wuyan tightly gripped the hoe in fear, closed his eyes, and swung forward with all his might. This attack unexpectedly directly annihilated Merlin's army. Wu Ho widened his eyes in disbelief. Those were all nourished spirit realm experts, second only to the commanders. Was that the intent of the war god's spear? Qinshan of the 9 Deaths and 1 Life realm watched this scene with satisfaction. I knew that battle garb was perfect for this guy. You see, the strength of battle garb doesn't depend on one's cultivation, but rather on the intensity of the emotions of its owner. With victory in sight, the humans were cheering and jumping for joy. To show their sincerity, he shouted to Zhu Wuyan, "Great one! If you can save the humans, we'll offer up 100,000 mu of fertile land." This statement struck right at Zhu Wuyan's heart. What farmer doesn't love land? He had to fight for that 100,000 mu of fertile land. He swung his hoe at the newly arrived demon, but the arrogant demon only raised his hand to block it and sneered. Besides being faster, do you really think a hoe can be used as a weapon? How ridiculous. But the next moment, he regretted his words. A tremendous force erupted, enveloping the entire battlefield. What incredible power! Battle Garb was definitely going to win. Zhu Wuyan helplessly looked ahead and asked, "Did I solve it?" Fighting was exhausting, but suddenly a burst of laughter rang out. A huge, grotesque hand slowly extended. "Little ant, do you think I'm one of those foot soldiers? I have 100,000 demons living inside me. If you want to fight me, you have to kill me 100,000 times." This man, who was covered in heads and bodies, was a weapon specifically designed to kill humans. After surviving a devastating attack, not only did he not die, but he also unleashed an even greater force. Watching this horrifying scene before him, Zhu Wuyan was stunned on the spot. He was slapped into the ground with one hand and then bombarded with countless attacks. Each move was a deadly blow from the 100,000 demons who died at the hands of humans. Each strike was a fatal strike to the soul. Yes, he's right. I, Zhu Wuyan, can't do it alone. Looking at the god of war who was powerless to resist, the demon king suddenly felt bored. Chi, kill him. This monster's body suddenly showed a deep abyssal mouth, opening its mouth to swallow Zhu Wuyan. The human soldiers wept bitterly. Lord God of War, Zhu Wuyan. But suddenly, a loud shout rang out, and they were stunned. With a hoe, Zhu Wuyan struck down and killed 100,000 Merlins in an instant. So, I can't possibly cultivate these 100,000 acres alone. It turns out he was just thinking about how to cultivate these 100,000 acres earlier. He also wanted a cow. Ah, great God, is this it? With your status, you can ask for something higher. Isn't having a cow already high enough? I wouldn't dare dream of being so presumptuous. But even if I give you a cow, you still won't be able to till the land. I'll give you 1,000 cows. The demon king was speechless but helpless. He could only take action himself. A lump of flesh bulged from his chest and turned into a ferocious eye. That was the demon eye that had unsealed the god of war's abyssal seal 1,000 years ago. Legend has it that the god of war had sealed the demon race within a barrier that even the peak of the king realm couldn't break. 1,000 years ago, Ling Tong broke the seal with a single blow from the demon eye, and the Merlin clan saw the light of day again. I didn't expect to see the demon eye again on this day. Countless energy gathered towards it, and it erupted with unparalleled power directly piercing through Zhu Wuyan. Warning, host descended dead. Mission failed. Trial 3 has ended. You can't proceed to the next continent. Black energy swirled around Qinshan's body. Don't be angry. I'll choose the second option for you. But Qinshan remained calm. It turns out that the chicken wings were just burnt. Don't worry, the emperor isn't in a hurry, so why should the eunuch be in a hurry? That's the battle garb of the war god. As long as the fighting spirit is not extinguished, the war god will not die. Zhu Wuyan resurrected at full health. Unexpectedly, with one hoe strike, a large hole was dug in his chest, causing the entire audience to gasp in shock. All of this was under the control of Qinshan. Alas, after the fight, let's go home and farm. But suddenly, a pair of hands grabbed his neck, and when he turned his head, he saw that it was the demon king. Why didn't he die? In the next second, Zhu Wuyan was stunned, as the battle garb of the war god also appeared on his body, and the demon king even pulled out Zhu Wuyan's battle garb of the war god. It turns out that he had obtained a piece of the war god's remains 100,000 years ago, and he had survived for 100,000 years with it. The goal of this time was to find the remaining remains. Just now, he deliberately showed a flaw to lure out the battle garb of the war god. He quickly fused the remains into a new war god, breaking directly through to the emperor realm, and even restoring his youth. You human beings should all die. A demon eye the size of a meteor appeared in the sky, releasing a devastating attack that could destroy the world. People's hearts were filled with despair, but the attack suddenly bounced back, hitting the Ling Tong, and causing he to spit out a mouthful of blood. Who is it? Who blocked my attack? He. I heard that you were also a person from 100,000 years ago, so you should remember my name. I am the Dark Emperor Qinshan. He was once a human baby, But after 100,000 years, he became a generation of demon kings, leading the demons to ravage human beings, just because he was hunted by Merlin 100,000 years ago. But he was just a useless waste who couldn't cultivate, and was cruelly abandoned by the human race. Even his own mother had abandoned him. At the moment he thought he was going to die, the god of war killed the demons with his hands, but also abandoned him. At this moment, he had completely lost hope, but the god of war gave him hope again by telling him to fight or die. Under the guidance of the god of war, he unleashed an infinite cosmos, which is why he is who he is now. Qinshan was slightly surprised and said that it wasn't what he heard. He was there at the time. It turns out that 100,000 years ago, he wanted to eat hot pot but had no base material, so he borrowed some spirit grass from the spirit tribe. However, the spirit tribe pursued him relentlessly and demanded that he return their tribe's treasure. After chasing them for 3 days and nights, he waved his hand and created a no-fly zone. But he made a big move, which caused part of the god of war's battle garb to fall off and was then picked up by Ling Tong. But who would believe this? Moreover, the god of war told him that he would die if he didn't fight. Qinshan couldn't believe that the person who said such things was really the god of war. Qinshan felt embarrassed upon hearing this. The truth was that after he opened the god of war abyss, he remembered that he had the base material, but he lacked dipping sauce for his hot pot. Suddenly, he went crazy and said that he had to dip it in bean paste. If he didn't, he would feel very unlucky. Therefore, there was no guidance from the god of war, and everything was his own doing. His faith of 100,000 years was destroyed by his own actions, and how could Ling Tong easily believe him? He summoned all his energy and transformed completely into the god of war battle garb, deciding to crush Qinshan. People watched in horror as the true god of war raised his fist the size of a mountain. The invincible power split the ground open. "Die!" he shouted. But Qinshan looked unhappy. "Why does no one believe me when I speak recently?" he wondered. In the next moment, he disappeared and appeared in front of Ling Tong. He slapped him hard, and at the same time, a giant spirit hand struck Ling Tong, scattering his body. This slap stunned Ling Tong. "Are you the Shantian Emperor?" Even the immortal war god was easily defeated by him. Who else could it be but the Shantian Emperor from years ago? "If I don't run now, I'll die for sure." With a swish, he shot towards the war god abyss. The Shantian Emperor's power was too terrifying. Not running would mean certain death. Zhu Wuyan was astonished by the scene. Even the Demon King is running away. Could that person really be the Patriarch? Realizing this, he immediately kneeled down. "Patriarch, please destroy Ling Tong, or he'll surely come back to get revenge on the human race." "Ah, you finally believe me now?" But he had no intention of saving him. "I'm just here to see the ditch I dug." Zhu Wuyan was getting anxious. "Patriarch, stop talking nonsense. The war god abyss has great significance to our human race. Please go deal with Ling Tong." So far, this person still thinks that Qinshan is deceiving him and keeps muttering, "Patriarch, I believe in you, but please don't pretend to be a war god." Qinshan was speechless. Even after living in seclusion for 100,000 years, no one believed him. He decided not to say anything and show them who the true ruler of this continent was. Suddenly, 2 giant hands descended from the sky, connecting heaven and earth, and slammed down on both sides of the war god abyss. With a single thought, they forcibly closed the war god abyss, and at that moment, the world fell silent. Zhu Wuyan stopped complaining, but the Ling Tong inside the war god abyss suffered a great loss. At that moment, he finally realized his mistake. The prophecy about the war god's return to the mortal world did not refer to him or Zhu Wuyan, but rather to the Shantian Emperor, Qinshan. It took Einstein 100 years to discover the laws of crustal movement, but the mountain in front of them suddenly teleported 100 feet, directly breaking his theory. It turned out that Qinshan was responsible for all of this. He merged the war god abyss into the war god peak, and the Ling Tong was also shaken to death inside. However, his hatred did not dissipate, and with the battle garb of the war god, he was immortal and would eventually come back to seek revenge. The Mighty One, when Ling Tong returns in the future, will you still help us? Qinshan's answer instantly shocked them. "Why should I save you? What does your death have to do with me?" However, to completely solve Ling Tong, they still needed Zhu Wuyan because to solve Ling Tong, someone had to take on his battle body and soul, and Zhu Wuyan was undoubtedly the best candidate. However, with the battle garb of the war god, Zhu Wuyan would always be drawn into battles, and the Ling Tong's resentful soul would always affect him, causing him to bear double the pain and could die at any moment. Would Zhu Wuyan still be willing to accept? After all, he was afraid to even step onto the battlefield before. Therefore, Qinshan did not force him, and if he refused, he could live peacefully as a farmer. Upon hearing this, Zhu Wuyan's face lit up with joy, and he ran directly to Mo Men. "Wife, regarding this decision, I first have to apologize to you." After experiencing what just happened, she didn't want Zhu Wuyan to suffer anymore. Then she heard a sound of apology, and Zhu Wuyan hugged her tightly. "I've decided to take on the battle garb of the war god. Let's put our marriage on hold for now, or else you'll be a widow." This sudden turn of events stunned everyone, and the Mao men couldn't come to their senses for a long time. In fact, after experiencing war, Zhu Wuyan also understood why people knowingly risked their lives without hesitation. It was because everyone had something they wanted to protect with their lives. Now he also has an important person, so he can't continue to be worthless. Before, everyone said that the invincible warrior was the war god, but now Zhu Wuyan believes that those who bravely face death are the true war gods. Patriarch, I, the junior Zhu Wuyan, am willing to take on the battle garb of the war god. I have no regrets in this life. His passionate speech made everyone see Zhu Wuyan in a new light. Not bad, kid. You finally earned the Patriarch's approval. The Patriarch then passed the soul of the Lingtong and the battle garb of the war god to him. He casually extracted the soul of Lingtong and said, Lingtong, behave yourself inside the body of my junior. At this point, Lingtong didn't dare to act up anymore and was immediately integrated into Zhu Wuyan's body by Qianxian. At this moment, the system's voice rang out, announcing that the junior Zhu Wuyan had completely resolved the Merlin crisis and had reached the 7th level of the Emperor realm, and so the war finally came to an end. But suddenly a green light shot straight up into the sky, and because the power of the host had affected the earth, the burial ground of the spirit race had emerged prematurely. As a result, the 4th trial was open ahead of schedule. The goal, for any junior to take the inheritance of the spirit race. Unexpectedly, after robbing the spirit tribe back then, now they have to go and dig up their ancestral grave. This is really unfortunate for them. Zhu Wuyan, the Patriarch, wants you to take down the inheritance in that tomb. Only success is allowed, not failure. This is a conch shell higher than a mountain, and with just a slight squint, even Ed Stafford dare not act rashly. However, Lingtong cannot tolerate this anger, and when the conch shell opened its fangs to eat him, the one-strike battle god gun directly killed it. After accepting Qianxian's task, Zhu Wuyan searched for several days in the wilderness, and several days of sleeping in the wind and eating outside directly allowed Lingtong to take control of his mind. He also met Ed Stafford, who was surviving in the wilderness and was hiding from the pursuit of the conch shell behind a small hill. The conch shell, which covered the sky and the sun, was just a meal in Lingtong's eyes, and he killed it instantly. Ed Stafford widened his eyes because he could not sense any cultivation aura from Lingtong's body. The use of the battle garb of the war god even made Zhu Wuyan sober up. He looked at the conch shell in front of him in confusion, and a green bubble emerged from his mouth, which instantly erupted with a strong suction force, sucking the entire conch shell inside. And then he burped. Only then did he realize that the meat of the conch he just obtained had disappeared like this. Seeing this scene, Ed Stafford believed that this was definitely a conch shell that had lived for 100,000 years, and the green bubble was going to hatch a conch girl. At the same time, the bubble also changed from green to pink, and the two of them looked at the spectacle in front of them with anticipation. With the sound of the eggshell cracking, something was really about to come out, but the next second, they destroyed their own eyes and strangled themselves. Even if they died, they did not want to see this thing. Originally, when he came out, not only was he not a girl, but also a fat uncle. The key is that he dances without clothes, with a look of affection. Zhu Wuyan immediately wanted to take justice into his own hands and grabbed a hoe. But strangely, not only did he fail to harm him, but he was also hugged by the greasy uncle. Master, I missed you so much. This astonishing touch made Zhu Wuyan, who had already been hungry for several days, vomit blood. What shocked him the most was that the attack automatically bypassed this person. After the uncle hugged Zhu Wuyan, he looked a little puzzled. This breath and feeling are not right. Although there is the laziness of a master, it is far from him. This is actually a dead pervert who imitates his master. He pushed Zhu Wuyan out again. Who is the pervert? It turns out that his master was chased by the spirit tribe for 3 days to make hot pot, and then he fell asleep on a conch shell and slept until now. So he asked, what year is it now? Do you know where the spirit tribe is? Oh, elegant gentleman, it is now the Kanglin year. The spirit tribe you mentioned has already become a tomb. The uncle was struck by lightning. Damn it. Does that mean he has been sleeping naked for 100,000 years, and the powerful spirit tribe died too? Did they die together with my master? At the thought of this, he immediately got up. Even if the spirit tribe died and became a tomb, I will still avenge my master. Seeing that he wanted to run away, Zhu Wuyan immediately chased after him. You stole my conch shell and want to run? Ed Stafford watched with envy as the two of them flew away. Why are their bodies so strong? He wondered. He recalled the features of the two. Damn it. Does starving and not wearing clothes make you stronger? And so, a legend of a naked man in the wilderness was born. On the other side, Chen Daorang ate roasted meat while Luo Qingchen reminded him that they were very close to the tomb of the spirit clan, and roasting meat could easily attract attention. However, Chen Daorang was full of complaints. It's okay, Sister Luo. You're already in the divine realm, 3rd grade. What are you afraid of? Could it be that there are still people coming to steal our barbecue in this wilderness? It turned out that they were also sent by Qianxian to take down the tomb of the spirit clan. However, Qianxian invited Luo Qingchen to eat barbecue to help her advance to the divine realm. Seeing this, Chen Daorang couldn't help but feel envious and asked Chen Qian for some benefits. Patriarch, I have been lacking fatherly love since I was young. Now you suddenly want me to embark on a long journey. Can't you give me some treasures like you did for junior sister, even if it's just a hair of yours? I can carry it with me to remember you. Under his strong request, Chen Qian had to give him a hair, not knowing that it was originally intended for Xian Heavy Ruler. But he couldn't resist Chen Daorang's emotional appeals. Suddenly, a voice came. Oh no, little brother, please don't chase me anymore. I smell food. Can I make it up to you? Chen Daorang was curious about the source of the voice. The ground under his butt suddenly rose up, and his buttocks tightened. A hoe hit its mark, and the pain was so excruciating that it tore at his heart. Zhu Wuyan and another person had followed the scent and arrived. They looked up and saw the roasted meat. Without a word, they grabbed and ate it. Chen Daorang, who was ambushed, clutched his buttocks in pain and lay on the ground. Who are these robbers who dare to steal my barbecue? The two of them looked embarrassed, but the movement of the mouth did not stop for a moment. Zhu Wuyan brandished his war god spear and tried to strike, but Chen Daorang managed to dodge it, albeit with a slight scratch. The intense battle spirit between them shocked both of them. Zhu Wuyan took the opportunity to flee, shouting, "Thanks for the hospitality." Furious, Chen Daorang exclaimed, "Don't run if you have the guts." He was about to pursue Zhu Wuyan but was stopped by Luo Qingchen, who said, "Don't chase after them. These two can escape from us, so they must be strong." Chen Daorang calmed down and realized that he had encountered such a powerful enemy outside unexpectedly. I can't even compare to senior sister. Can these punks outside still bully me? Senior sister, I have to take this seriously. I must obtain the inheritance of the Spirit Clan to prove that our Shantian Emperor clan is the strongest. Meanwhile, in the 9 Deaths and 1 Life realm, a group of people were riding on several male lions, heading forward. They turned out to be from the Haoyue Kingdom.